Hey everyone. So first of all, these chapters were really confusing to me. I'm really not familiar with the vocabulary at all. So the terms that were brought up, I really had to read through several times to gain an understanding of what in the world we're talking about. So bear with me as I work my way through this discussion. Number one, select one theory you like and explain what you like about it, how you think it helps you better understand organizational life, and how it might help you better understand something in an organization you are connected to. So I selected the interpretive approach from page 90. It says that organizations only exist so far as their members create them through discourse. Basically, as I understand it, that the people create the processes and structures, the communication styles, and even the quality levels of service. A company is nothing without its people, basically. From my experience, this really holds true. I've always found that the people within the organization that I work, my coworkers and my managers and the owner, as the dynamics change, as the people change, the company reacts differently. We provide a different level of service, a different level of communication, become more or less effective, depending on the individuals involved in the corporation. Now, in my case, I've always worked for smaller companies, usually around a dozen people. At the very most I've ever worked for we had like 50 people. So it's probably, it probably holds more true for smaller companies because you have less people making up the thing, and so it's a little less structured. Every time, from my experience, that we changed managers, there was a change in how things were done. Every licensed professional wants to do things their way. So the way that we would have our CAD standards, our drawing standards, how we operated within the company, how we saved our files, these things were all kind of customized every time a manager came in because we're just employees. We're going to do what the boss says. So as the bosses changed, so did our systems, so did our processes. The owner remained the same, of course, and he tried to maintain some cohesiveness between managers, but really it was kind of at the discretion of the team manager. So our companies were very agile, very dynamic, but at the same time, the company completely changed, within 10 years. I was there longer than most of the managers, but still a subordinate for most of my time, and I experienced a big shift many times in how the standards were kept and how the company operated. So I definitely see with the interpretive approach how that holds true for sure from my experience and with smaller companies. Number two, find one theory in the chapter that you hate or confuses you and explain your issues with it. Okay, so first of all, please don't shoo me. As I read through the chapter, I had the most trouble with the feminist approach on page 108. Just honestly, it's not so much that I have anything against feminism, but had a hard time understanding the section. I found that it's not so much an approach or a theory. It's more about a basic concept of really challenging the assumptions. As I understand it, like control and domination, which was talked about in earlier theories, are masculine, have masculine tendencies. People focusing more, an organization that focuses more on people and listening with a better communication, two-way, top to bottom, that is more of a feminine tendency or a trait that a company can have. So by encouraging the masculine tendencies in the basic theories and the classical theories and the theories that we have for organizational structure, we propagate these stereotypes that are more masculine. So our basic assumptions about organizations and structure lean towards tradition and towards masculine, the masculine traits, I guess. And just because we have always done it this way doesn't make it right. So the feminist approach is more about being more critical of the overall process and not making the assumption that just because this is always the way we've done it, that makes it correct. We do have to start somewhere, from where we're at. So it's kind of hard to get a feel for how this is supposed to help. But I guess the basic thing that I'm pulling out of it is that while we start from where we're at, we need to challenge even our core assumptions, our beliefs about how an organization should run and how it's structured. And this whole theory or approach to the study of organizations would help us do that. So hopefully I'm on track there, but that's the one I struggled with the most. So I felt that that was appropriate for question number 2. For the third item, pick one theory and look at our case from last week with Merck. How does that theory help us to better understand some aspect of the case? I struggled a bit with this as well. I was really trying to figure out how this would apply and how it would help us at all. Bottom line, there's no excuse for the unethical lying that took place with that company. So I'm trying to reach a little bit to kind of come up with something here, but looking at that company from a bureaucratic theory, the fail theory from page 70, one thing I could identify is with that theory, it was very much a top-down communication structure and organization. From page 70, quote, one person in command. There's little communication from the bottom up. So in that situation with that structure, management at the top could make unethical decisions that would be far-reaching. And because of the bureaucratic authority that exists in that structure, there would be little or no pushback from the bottom levels. So in the case where they did the 10-month study that actually they trimmed off and called it a 9-month study, and the lies that they told, other members of the organization may not have much room or ability to affect those decisions about how they communicated that out to the public. The top level officials, the CEO himself, could present himself one way to the public, calling himself ethical, and then make decisions about the product they were pushing internally, and with little or no communication from the subordinates, it could really propagate into a large-scale issue, if that was the structure that they used. So, one bad egg at the top could result in poor ethics for the whole company. I don't know if this is really the case with Merck, because as much issues as they had for as long as they had, I really doubt that one CEO at the top could really cause that much problems. But it's one way that I could see where if that was the structure they had in place for their organization, that lack of communication bottom to top could cause problems for them in terms of, once management says this is where we're going, there's not much that the employees could do about it. So that was what I had in mind. I'm really interested to see what others came up with on this, because I did struggle with it a bit, coming up with something. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later.